If you're looking to go fully electric but require enough seating for up to 7 people, your choices were always pretty limited, and most buyers had to pay well over $100,000 to get something decent with over 300 miles of range. Now, thankfully, Hyundai has actually been the leader in the electric space for the last 5 years with their Ioniq sub-brand, and for 2026, the company is looking to supersize the Ioniq sub-brand with the introduction of this. This is the first ever 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9. It's their new 3-row flagship all-electric SUV that is essentially larger versus their current 3-row flagship, the Palisade, and this vehicle also offers some pretty impressive specs. Very quick charging because it runs on the 800-volt architecture, up to 422 horsepower, and up to 335 miles of all-electric range. So as you can see, this week we are testing out the near fully loaded version. This is a 2026 Ioniq 9 in the Calligraphy trim, and the big question I want to answer, for those of you who have been waiting to go fully electric but you want something that has enough space for your family, how does the latest version of the Ioniq 9 stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So we've been waiting a while for Hyundai to introduce an even larger 3-row SUV that's all electric. So now that it's finally here, let's go ahead and pop the hood and show you guys what kind of storage space you find underneath here. Now, unlike their other Ioniq models, which have a frunk but a very small one, the Ioniq 9 is actually the biggest frunk that Hyundai is offering in their current all-electric lineup. Now, as you can see underneath this front trunk storage space, this particular one that I'm showing you is technically the smaller frunk. It has just enough space for basically the adapters that you can get for the tire mobility kit. This is for the V2L load adapter if you guys want to actually charge the vehicle or use the vehicle to power up some appliances, but it's around 1.8 cubic feet. The rear wheel drive models, because they don't have a motor at the front, has around 3 cubic feet. But since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs. Now, all Ioniq 9s utilize a 110.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's technically 10% bigger versus the Kia EV9, its sister vehicle. And this model here comes standard with dual electric motors. It also has the performance tune because this is, again, a Calligraphy trim that's standard on the limited and up trims. This model offers up to 422 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. That's a healthy increase over the 379 ponies that you get in the Kia EV9 GT line version of this car. If you guys go for an SE or SEL, the power figure drops to 303 horsepower. The rear-wheel drive SE, which gets the best range, offers 215 horsepower. It all goes out through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission, and this vehicle comes standard with electronic all-wheel drive, courtesy of its dual electric motors. Hyundai says this model is good for 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. We'll test it out when we get the vehicle out on the road with a top speed of 124 miles an hour. Now, this vehicle also is pretty heavy, but it still can tow a decent 5,000 pounds. And this model here is basically the heaviest trim, weighing in at just over 6,000 pounds. So it's several thousand pounds heavier versus the Palisade. But remember, it's got a big battery pack that is obviously increasing the weight. Now, I don't expect, or for now, there's no performance N version, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hyundai actually did come out with an N line or an actual N, because Kia has a GT, an actual GT of the EV9, but we'll have to wait to see what Hyundai ends up doing at some point. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, as you can see, the Ioniq 9 definitely carries forward the identity of the Ioniq sub-brand, because it basically boldly presents their pixelated pixel theme here that you have with their full LED lighting. You can see all of them come standard with the full LED lighting. It has that trendy LED light bar. This particular model that I'm showing you is painted in cyber gray metallic. It's a glossy finish color. The Calligraphy design trim above this only comes in a matte color, which is why it's also more expensive. I do love the way the pixels look with the LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals. The Calligraphies also include an upgraded LED low and high beam down here, which it looks like it actually has a total of 12 individual LEDs with almost like an LED accent there to the side. This front panel is completely closed off, which also has kind of like a see-through area that has more of the pixels. That doesn't illuminate at all at night, but you do have a front camera system here with the radar sensor for the Hyundai Driving Assist 2.0, of course. The Hyundai logo also looks pretty nice. I really love how wide and kind of blocky this vehicle looks. You can see down here, there's some active grille shutters, which it's opened up right now because it's like 100 degrees out here. So the vehicle does need a little bit of cooling to help cool off the battery. But overall, I definitely like the way this car looks. It certainly can be polarizing, but I think Hyundai's design team nailed it. I think from the front, the Kia EV9 looks better, but from the rear, I think the Ioniq 9 looks better. But this is definitely still an attractive looking vehicle, especially when you're comparing it to some of its more, I guess, jelly bean competitors. Now, moving around the side profile, this is again, the Hyundai's largest SUV, at least until the next generation Palisade shows up later this year, at 199.4 inches long with a 123-inch long wheelbase. This is nearly a 10-inch longer wheelbase than the current Palisade. Its overall length is around 5 inches longer than the Palisade currently, and around 2 inches longer than the Kia EV9. So kind of keep that in mind. This is a little bit bigger. Now you can see the Calligraphy trim includes a full paint finish here on the wheel arch trims. Now on other trims, this can either be black or it can either be a flat black color. I definitely like the full paint finish. These are the included 21-inch wheels that you get on the SEL trims and up. The Calligraphy design has a different looking wheel. These 21-inch wheels, I don't love them, but I don't hate them. They are easy to clean. They're a more aerodynamic look to them. All disc brakes, of course. It's a 285 by 45 R21 Hankook all-season tire. You have roughly 6.9 inches of ground clearance, all independent suspension, no rear wheel steering, no adaptive dampers also. I think I said this vehicle had adaptive dampers during my first drive, but it actually does not. It should have been included, honestly, at this price point. The mirrors, as you can see, conventional, power folding, integrated turn signals with full 360 camera. The Calligraphy also includes some a silver metallic trim along the window trim, along the roof rails. There is a panoramic sunroof that also opens up to vent air, which I think is a great feature. Some competitors offer a glass roof, but it doesn't open. And then backing away from the Ioniq 9, you can see this is a really nice angle of the car. It almost looks like a long roof wagon. It actually reminds me of a Volvo. So this is why I think the Ioniq 9 actually looks better from the rear versus the EV9. It has a very distinctive and tasteful look. I especially love the way the rear end looks with this kind of full width bar LED taillight design that actually goes into the top portion where the spoiler is. That's actually functioning as the third brake light. You have integrated turn signals that are LEDs, full LEDs as well for the taillight design, which actually has like a clear finish to it. It boldly spells out Ioniq 9 at the back with the Hyundai logo in the glass. There's an H-Track badge here to let you know you have all-wheel drive. The reverse light is down here, and the rear bumper, you can see, has some integrated parking sensors, cameras back here, 2 cameras technically. One's for the digital camera review mirror, and then your rear wiper is tucked away underneath that rear spoiler, which gives it a really clean look. Now over here, this is one of the big features of the Ioniq 9. You have a power opening and closing charge port door, and as you can see, all Ioniq 9s come standard with the NACS plug, which is the J3400 plug from Tesla, which allows this vehicle to have access to Tesla superchargers, and Hyundai also includes adapters in case you want to go to a CCS or use a J1772. This vehicle has a roughly an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. It takes about 10 hours to go from 0 to 100% on a level 2 at a 48 volt amp. On a level 3 350 CCS combo, you can go from 10 to 80% in about 24 minutes. On a level 3 supercharger from Tesla, it'll take about 40 minutes because Teslas typically have a 400 volt architecture system. This model here with the 21-inch wheels offers up to 311 miles of range, 320 if you guys go for the SE and SEL, 335 if you guys go for the rear-wheel drive SE. That's the range leader, of course. So all versions have over 300 miles of range. That is absolutely fantastic. Now, as you can see as well, a power liftgate is included. That's what you'd expect from a vehicle that has a price tag like this. And as you can see as well, the Ioniq 9 actually offers a pretty decent amount of cargo space, around 22 cubic feet with the third row seat up. You can see there's additional storage off to the side and some storage underneath the floor here, although it's not the deepest storage area. You can also power fold these third rows. If you push that button, you have an actual power outlet here, which you can also slide that little area to close it and open it. You can see over there, there's like a little button here. I believe that is to hold it in a certain mode. You have a 12 volt power outlet here, and then as you can see, when you fold down the third row, you get around 46 cubic feet of storage space with the third row seats folded, which is a pretty healthy amount. Again, if you fold down the second row as well, the cargo capacity expands to 87 cubic feet of space, which is actually pretty generous. Now, obviously, if you guys are looking for more, vehicles like the Volkswagen ID Buzz is going to offer even more because it is a van. I do notice that the rear opening here isn't as large as the Kia because of the fact that it tapers down, but still, this is a pretty usable amount of space. And if you guys, really like the power folding third row, it is included if you guys go, I believe, for the limited trims and up. Now moving into the interior of the new Hyundai Ioniq 9. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. As you can see, this is Hyundai's latest intelligent access key fob, which pretty much just looks like an egg. When you flip the key over on its side, it actually reveals the Hyundai logo that's kind of positioned within the actual buttons. The buttons have this interesting kind of like greenish blue tint to them, with the typical buttons here for lock, unlock, remote start, panic. And then onto the side here, you have the ability to move the vehicle forward and back with the remote fob itself, along with a power liftgate, and it also has a remote open for the front trunk. Hyundai does offer their digital key too, where you can use your smartphone as a key. That's included if you guys go for the limited trims and up. I have heard that this key fob, if you guys kind of use it and abuse it, or at least use it in just normal usage, the color starts to fade away. So hopefully Hyundai will have that addressed later on at some point. Now, as you can see, this vehicle, like so many other EVs, has the retractable door handles. This is all, of course, for aerodynamics. Whenever you have the vehicle locked, the door handles retract, the power mirrors will fold in, and that's because this vehicle has a 0.269 coefficient of drag, which helps it get really good range figures, of course, because it's slippery through the air. As you can see, when I unlock the door, the mirrors will pop out. This vehicle does have a feature where if I have the key fob on me, it senses as I'm approaching the door, handles will pop out. You touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door for you. Now, looking at the interior, as you can see, the cyber gray exterior of my test car is complemented by this H-Tex interior, which is a synthetic leather in this kind of two-tone color. This is technically a green interior. It's a very, very grayish green with some interesting accents here with the contrast, of course. The lower portion is a gray H-Tex, so it's a synthetic leather again. The seats adjust in 12 different ways, although you do have this really cool thigh extender as well. That's part of the lounge seating on this trim. And you also have the ability to squeeze and retract these bolsters here to hold you in place nicely. The seats are also heated and ventilated, and you have an actual ergo motion seat. So there's a massaging driver's seat only. Not on the passenger side. Hyundai tends to jip you in the front seats, and only the driver gets that feature. You also have like a lumbar stabilization seat where it'll actually adjust the seat lumbar over some time here to kind of decrease driver fatigue on those longer road trips. But overall, it certainly makes a great first impression. The door panel, you can see, has the same green color here on the upper portion where it's a soft touch injection molded plastic. This is the same H-Tex with this interesting perforation here, nice padded leather here, nice big storage area here that functions as a grab handle. The window controls are one touch for all four. That's included if you guys go for the limited trims and up. You also have a silver painted plastic door handle. This is your massage seat button here, along with your 2-person memory. Only on the driver's side. That's included if you guys go for the limited trims and up. You can really see the green color here, which is nice. Down here, you can see it's gray, hard touch plastic. You also have a 14-speaker Bose stereo. That's included on the limited trims and up. And you also have some alloy sport pedals there, which certainly spice up the interior look overall, which is a nice touch. Now, getting inside with around 7 inches of ground clearance, you have a nice, easy step-in height. As I shut the door, the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. You can see this trim also includes a power tilt telescoping wheel. The start-stop button is located here, right behind the steering wheel on the actual shift stalk. When I push that, you can see it has the traditional Hyundai chime. This is an EV, so there's no starter noise, obviously, but you can see my particular test car, it just says ready to let you know it's ready to go. You have dual 12.3-inch displays, so you have a 12.3-inch instrument cluster here, which is slightly customizable, along with a 12.3-inch center display here that runs their newest CNCC software, which finally includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which my phone is not connected right now because I'm using it to film. It messes up the audio, of course, but this screen, the graphics are nice. The response is also good. It has built-in embedded GPS, which also includes route planning, and it finds the nearest Tesla superchargers for you, or any kind of chargers when you're on a road trip, and it tells you how long you need to stay to charge there on those longer road trips. That's basically what Tesla does, so that's all very important stuff. You can see the upper, this upper trim includes a heads-up display. This area here has a soft touch injection molded plastic. The calligraphy trim has almost like a Formica look, where it looks almost like stone on this little piece of trim here. Other trims may have a different finish. You can see this area here is smooth. It's like a silver painted plastic here, not really aluminum, obviously. I love how Hyundai still uses traditional air vents as opposed to the electronic vents, which I find to be kind of annoying. Lots of knobs and buttons. Hyundai has really been listening to criticism and feedback, where you have a tuning knob, a volume knob, actual knobs here for the dual zone, or technically I think it's a tri-zone climate control, traditional hard buttons here. Your heated and cooled seats are technically touch sensitive buttons here, but it's nice how it's not embedded in the screen here, so they always pretty much should populate. The steering wheel, as you can see, is their newest steering wheel with the illuminated 4 dots here, which corresponds to an H in Morse code. The wheel also includes paddle shifters to control the regen braking. There's a power tilt telescoping functionality. That camera there watches your face to make sure you're paying attention and not falling asleep. The horn, it sounds pretty nondescript. and a nice tone considering the size of the vehicle, of course. It's a 3-spoke steering wheel. You have the latest stocks here from Hyundai, and then if you signal right or left, you can see the SEL trims and up will include their blind view camera system, and which also includes blind spot monitoring. That's a great feature for those longer highway trips. Of course, the transmission stock is right here. You basically have to twist it toward you to go into reverse, which reveals the backup camera with a full 360 camera. And of course, you have parking sensors front and rear, cross-traffic braking. You also have a perimeter scan where you can go completely around the vehicle in a 3D, swipe around, which is pretty impressive. This is what you expect from a lot of European brands. The quality and the resolution is also good. I also noticed when you put it in reverse, these turn red to let you know that you're in reverse. In case you didn't realize you left it in reverse, twist this little stalk here forward to go to drive, and then push the end of the stalk here to go into park. So relatively straightforward. This frees up space in the center console, which is nice. And then down here you can see you have basically a wireless, over here you have a little bit of storage, 3 USB-C charging ports, which is nice. Additional storage down there as well. This is their Dynamic Island 2.0, which allows you to move it all the way back to create additional space here, or move it all the way forward to give more space into the second row area. You can see your wireless charging pad is here, along with 2 cup holders. Drive mode selector is here. There's a total of 4 different modes, including an adaptive My mode where you can change it to your liking. No adaptive dampers, however. Most of you are probably going to drive it in normal. If you push this, however, it goes into a terrain mode where you can cycle between snow, mud, and sand, which is all software. Again, most people are just going to be cycling it through the regular drive modes. There's your camera button there. Parking sensors on and off. There's a fingerprint scanner here that will allow you to basically set that to your actual fingerprint and populate all your different settings. The wireless charger here you can see is raised up, although it's not actually like cooled or vented. It would be nice if it would, because my phone gets hot when it's in there. If I open this up, which I found this to also be a little bit stuck at times. When you open that up, you can see it doesn't look very deep, the storage area, but when you actually pick this up, it reveals an even deeper storage area down there. So that's fantastic. That allows you to have access to the storage for the backseat areas. And this hinge is also dual functionality, so you can actually open it up from the back, which is nice. You have these little buttons here to control the seats for the passenger side. This seat, as you can see, has that same two-tone look. The cooled functionality works well. Love the cooled seats, but no massaging on this seat here. You do still have like a 12-way power adjustment here on the drive or the passenger side, which is nice. A little storage shelf over here, and then if you open that up, you can see the glove box is big. It goes into the dash, offers additional storage as well. There's a little bit of ambient lighting in here and in the door pockets as well, which you can customize the color, I believe, to 64 different colors. And I also really appreciate the low dash, which contributes to good visibility out of the front. There's a digital camera rear mirror on the SEL trims and up. You can see auto dimming frameless, which looks very upscale as well, or you can go to that. The calligraphy trims and up includes a micro suede fiber headliner as opposed to the cloth. And then you also have the LED map lighting in here, of course, along with Hyundai's Blue Link with their telematics system. The panoramic glass roof also has a retractable shade, which is nice on those hot summer days. You can also open this up to vent air, which includes a built-in wind deflector. This is a great feature because most other EVs don't allow you the ability to open it up, but that's the largest. It only opens up over the front seat areas, but at least it's still nice. The Bose stereo also sounds pretty decent. If you guys are an audiophile, I highly recommend going for the limited trims at least to get that. But overall, as you can see, the interior certainly isn't luxurious, but it's comfortable. It's got most of the tech that you could want. It also offers plenty of space, great storage, good visibility. So I think Hyundai nailed the aspects, I think, for buyers, looking for a family vehicle, because this will be a car you can kind of get into and it won't overwhelm you with tech, but at the same time, it feels very class competitive. The build quality also seems pretty good. This is a car, again, built at their new Georgia facility. Didn't really see any uneven panel gaps, although I did hear a little bit of a rattle coming from the backseat area during some highway drives. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. We can show you guys what that space is like. Now, again, with this really long wheelbase, this rear door, I want to point out, is also huge. And it does contribute to extra space to get inside, but this also could be a problem if you guys have kids that are a little overzealous when they open the doors and it could slam into a car door. This is where a minivan would be better. The limited and trims up include the retractable sunshades. You have the same soft touch injection molded plastic with the leatherette here, window controls feel high quality. I love the cup holders built into the door, in addition to the storage down here. The calligraphy trims and up also includes the captain's chairs here, which also have like a really nice lounge seating. So it has the retractable ottoman here, which is nice. This also has a power and operated with recline functionality, and you can also actually tilt the front seat up. It actually offers like a 6-way power adjustment, which is pretty unexpected. And these seats are also heated and ventilated. That's included if you guys go for the limited trims and up. The calligraphies are the only ones that have the actual power actuated seats. They don't offer the ability to rotate toward the back like they do in Korea. And in Korea, when I tested it, you had a vibrating and massaging second row seat, but that's not included here in America, sadly. Once I get back here, you can see and shut the door. This is basically my driving position. There's a ton of legroom space. Hyundai says you have around 42 inches of legroom back here, which is among the best in the segment. I love the fact that I can stretch out here. There's a completely flat floor. There's plenty of space here for me to cross my legs. Again, you have tri-zone climate control, cooled seats back here, in addition to 3-level heated seats, which is fantastic. You have 2 USB-C charging ports. And again, I want to point out those are the quick chargers with 100 watts of output, which is amazing. If you pull this out, you can see there's that lower storage area that we showed you from the front seat area. This is for the back seat passengers. You can also open it up from back here with the dual hinge, which is a really great feature. Big pass-through area here to get into the third row, along with these headrests, which offer kind of like a wing effect to them. They're pretty comfortable and supportive as well. You have air vents located in the ceiling, of course, and then plenty of headroom space. You can see at 5'7", I have like a solid 5 inches maybe of additional headroom clearance, and the sunroof here comes up over the heads on the second row here. Even though this doesn't open up, it's nice to let in some additional light. So again, this is a second row here that is very much, you know, able to accommodate full-size adults. It has pretty much as much space and luxury as the front row area. So I think people are going to be pretty happy, especially if you plan to put full-size adults back here. Now, getting into the third row with this option, Hyundai makes it pretty easy. You just push this little button here, and that will electrically move the seat forward. It takes about 5 seconds for the seat to move forward, and you can see it tilts out of the way. It offers a good amount of space once it's done moving out of the way to get into the third row, which, as you can see, the third row only offers seating for up to 2 people across. But let's go ahead and get back here and show you guys the space. You can see at 5'7", there is a pretty decent amount of space for me to get back here and also close the door. Now, as you can see, there's the ambient lighting and the door pockets there. Now, this is with the seat all the way back for the second row. Now, this is where Hyundai says you have around 32 inches of legroom back here, but I suspect that number is when you have this seat pushed forward a little bit, because as you can see, my knees are jammed up against this seat, so I have to ask this passenger to lose a little bit of space, which there is extra space here, so there's room to do so to give you a little bit more space. There's also a power recline function here for the third row, which is also on this side as well, in addition to offering hard touch plastic here, some additional cup holder storage. You have a USB-C charging port, a pretty large window here actually, which is good if you get car sick. You want to have a good view from the side. You have rear seat air vents in the third row here, even in the ceiling, along with the microfiber suede that carries over back here. Same features, of course, on this side. It would be nice if Hyundai would offer an additional seat here for a middle passenger, but at the same time, it seems like this isn't quite wide enough to accommodate that unless you're really skinny. I suspect that has to do with the weight balance, but overall, as you can see, the third row area, in addition to offering good amount of space, also a pretty good, generous amount of headroom as well, just like the Kia EV9. You can certainly fit full-size adults back here. Just remember, you're going to have to ask this middle passenger here, or the second row passenger, to move the seat up just slightly to accommodate average-size adults. So we've been waiting a long time for Hyundai to introduce a new flagship 3-row all-electric SUV. In fact, the Ioniq 9 has been teased for a few years now. It's been out in Korea for a little bit earlier than here in America, but now that we're finally behind the wheel of the US spec version of the Ioniq 9 in this Calligraphy trim, I'm very excited to basically talk about this car after spending a full week with the vehicle. I mean, the one that we're driving is the Calligraphy, which means it comes standard with the dual motor all-wheel drive system with the performance tune. So we have a maximum of 422 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. This vehicle also has a 10% bigger battery pack than the Kia EV9, its sister vehicle. On a full charge, this vehicle was showing about 318 miles of range. Now, of course, that's the range figure when you had it in its normal drive setting. In Sport, it drops to 307. In Eco, the highest I saw was 326 miles. And we'll talk about the real-world range later on. But this model here comes standard with a 21-inch alloy wheel on a 285 width tire. Hyundai basically says the 0 to 60 time should be around 4.9 seconds. The last time we tested this vehicle out in Savannah, Georgia, where we were spending about a couple days there at their factory, we got 4.5 seconds in real-world testing. It is very, very hot during my week of testing, however. The temperature outside is just under 90 degrees with plenty of humidity, and we are starting off with 95% state of charge. It is showing around 284 miles of range. That's in Sport mode. If I kick it back into normal, it increases to 293. But regardless, this vehicle should have enough range and power for most people. I mean, you guys don't even, most people probably don't even need the limited or an up's performance tune, the 303 horsepower should be plenty for those of you who want to step down to the SE or SEL. I imagine most of you are going to want the all-wheel drive option, at least because this is an SUV. But let's go ahead and try out a 0 to 60. Now this particular stretch is slightly uphill. They're doing road work on the normal stretch where I usually do my first run, but we'll try it up ahead the second time. That's also with it more slightly on level ground. But let's try brake torquing it and see what we can get here. Feels pretty strong. 4.61 seconds there. Now that's with it going slightly more uphill. Now the one thing I want to point out is this car, it feels like Hyundai is limiting the power, at least from an initial dead stop. Even when you brake torque it in sport mode, it feels like it's not giving me full power until we get above like 20 miles an hour. But in sport mode, you notice a big difference in the way the electric motors ramp up the power. It just kind of gives you more instantaneous thrust once you get moving. And the vehicle feels properly fast. I mean, if you guys are trading in a Palisade and going to this car, a Palisade roughly takes around 7 seconds to get to 60 versus this car is like almost 2 seconds faster 0 to 60 wise, which is pretty impressive. If you guys don't want this much power, 6.2 seconds is what Hyundai says for the SE and SEL trims with the 303 horsepower tune. When you switch it into its normal and eco mode, you definitely feel a difference in, especially in eco mode. It almost feels like you're towing a boat as it kind of limits the power and tries to give you the most range. But I personally like the way it feels in sport mode the most. This car also has Hyundai's iMax pedal, so it has their one pedal drive feature, which it gets very aggressive in its iMax mode. You can control these little, or flip these little paddles here to control how much regen braking you want. There's a total of 4 different levels, but this car is definitely not sporty. It's tuned more for comfort. The suspension is very soft, and you can also feel the 6,000 pound curb weight and the really long 123-inch long wheelbase. It's almost 10 inches longer than a Hyundai Palisade, at least the current generation. The stability control gets very aggressive as well if you try to floor it when you're in a turn. Again, this is a family SUV. It's designed for safety. You're not going to be driving this vehicle in I guess your favorite back road with stability control off, getting the back end sideways. It primarily, it is a rear drive based electric SUV, but it feels more like most of the power is coming to the front wheels. But let's go ahead and try our second 0 to 60 run here. This is more level ground. It's in sport mode. We're going to brake torque it, of course, and see what we can get. It is pretty quick. 4.4 seconds there. So that's with it more on level ground. So a smidge faster versus when I first tested it out in Savannah, which I got 4.5, but 4.4 is literally 2.5 seconds actually faster than the last Hyundai Palisade with its 3.8 liter V6 that I tested. So this is plenty of power. I just don't love how this vehicle feels. When daily driving, it feels so soft. The suspension just bucks around. The steering offers very little to no feedback. It is quick enough, at least. It's relatively easy to drive this car. You just have to get used to the weight of it and the fact that the turning radius isn't great. 4-wheel steering would be nice. There's no adaptive dampers with this car, but the suspension is definitely tuned more for comfort. And that's kind of where I wish this car had adaptive dampers, where I could stiffen things up, especially in sport mode. The visibility is also good. I can see out of the front and the side. The rear gets blocked off by those head restraints and the tapering rear end, but you can fix that by flipping that and going into the digital camera rearview mirror, which is standard, I think, on the SEL trims and up, along with the blind view camera system. If I signal right or left, it shows you exactly what's in your blind spot in the instrument panel, which I love. And I love how Hyundai made it standard on the SEL trims and up, so you don't even have to go for the highest calligraphy trims to get all of the latest tech features, which is fantastic. Their highway driving assist 2 is also included on this trim, where it has adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, traffic jam assistance. Their adaptive cruise also works incredibly well, and this car is very quiet as well. Hyundai has definitely taken some of their, quiet tuning that you get from like a Genesis and made this one of the quietest interiors you're going to find. Very little road and wind noise. There is a little bit of a synthetic engine or motor sound that it's piping through the speakers. You can turn that on and off in the screen here. So it's a really good daily driver and a great highway cruiser. I just noticed my particular test car had a little bit of a rattle coming from this like upper B pillar up here, which I found annoying. But let's go ahead and talk about the range, because this vehicle is rated to get 311 miles of range on a full charge. Now, I put almost 300 miles on this car in my week's worth of testing, and I took it on a pretty long road trip where I drove it mostly on the highway. And in my real world testing, I got 280 miles of range. It was averaging around 2.6 miles per kilowatt. That is pretty decent numbers. It's going to be a little bit more versus the last EV9 that I tested. I suspect Kia will likely put this battery pack in the EV9 whenever they refresh the vehicle. But, you know, on a road trip, this car was just absolutely phenomenal. It has a soft ride, even though it's got slightly cumbersome handling. It's got pretty comfortable seats. I'm sitting here, for example, getting a massage, although the massage function isn't the best massage function. It's only included on this Calligraphy trims. The heated and cooled seats work nicely. You even have cooled seats in the second row. There's plenty of room in this vehicle to stretch around. And again, it has the NACS plug, so you can go to Tesla superchargers, which are plentiful around the country, although that will take around 40 minutes to charge from 10 to 80% versus 24 minutes on a CCS 350 kilowatt. So kind of keep that in mind. But I mean, overall, Hyundai pretty much nailed the fact that this is, you know, an electric SUV that can fit your family, that offers very little compromises. I mean, sure, could it offer a little bit more range? Yes, it could, but it's definitely offering around 60 more miles of range versus the last Volkswagen ID Buzz that I tested. The Buzz, I definitely think is still the cooler vehicle. It offers even more interior space, although the Hyundai offers pretty similar performance, even faster charging speeds, better real-world range. So there's very little faults that I can find with this car, other than the fact that it feels heavy and it feels a little bit cumbersome because of the, you know, wide turning radius, and the fact that it's also an expensive vehicle. Because, you know, I was expecting this car to be, you know, way more expensive than a Palisade, but this model here, you know, approaches the level of, you know, pricing that you would find at an entry-level luxury brand. But at the same time, does Hyundai deserve to be playing at this level? That's really going to depend on you. You can, again, save yourself 10,000 bucks by stepping down to the SEL trim, which could be the sweet spot, especially for those of you who are looking to upgrade from your Palisade. Now, over the past year, I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with the newest version of the Hyundai Ioniq family, the Ioniq 9. I first had a chance to sample this vehicle out in South Korea at the early part of this year. I drove it again in Savannah, where Hyundai actually showed us the plant where this vehicle is built. So after spending a full week with the Ioniq 9 in the Calligraphy trim, I have to say my thoughts on this vehicle have definitely been reassured, because the EV9, the sister vehicle, I really liked that car when I first had a chance to drive it. Kia is actually coming out with a high-performance GT version. And I think personally, I would rather go with the Ioniq 9. There's something about this car, from the increase in the range, to the increase in the power, to the interior aesthetic, to the look on the exterior, just kind of shows me that Hyundai was really thinking a little bit more clearly on what buyers are looking for in the three-row all-electric space. The interior offers very comfortable seats, lots of interior space, the latest tech that you could want with its dual 12.3-inch displays and the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The second row offers those beautiful lounge chairs with the power recline function, with plenty of space in the second row for full-size adults. The third row can also accommodate adults as well, as long as you move the front or the second row seats up a little bit forward. And the cargo area is also pretty usable. I just wish that Hyundai would allow the third row to sit 3 people across. I suspect that has to do with the gross vehicle weight rating, because this is significantly heavier versus the Palisade, which does allow seating for 3 people in the third row across. And while this vehicle isn't sporty, I think the handling and ride balance is pretty much what buyers are looking for. I would love to see, however, an N-line or an N version to kind of spice things up a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised if Hyundai eventually introduces that vehicle. The quick charging is also nice. The Tesla NACS plug is also great how it's included. Again, it's going to really take away some of that range anxiety that people might be facing. And while I got 280 miles of range in real-world testing in these really hot 100-degree temperatures, I think that's going to be suffice for most people. And because it's also quick charging, you can get back on the road pretty fast. But overall, this is definitely still a great vehicle for those of you who want to go, you know, fully electric, but you need something that actually can carry your family and take those longer road trips with comfort and, of course, with style. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the new Ioniq 9, they are already at dealership showrooms. And remember, this vehicle is built at their new plant, their new mega factory in Savannah, Georgia, which means it should qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit while it's still around. And it also doesn't make this vehicle, you know, subject to any kind of tariffs. But pricing has pretty much held steady since it was first introduced, starting at $58,955 for the base SE with rear-wheel drive. That's the range leader, offering up to 335 miles of range. Most of you are probably going to step it up to the SE with all-wheel drive. That starts at around $62,000. That's going to give you, again, 303 horsepower, around 320 miles of range, which also isn't too bad. That model is around 65,000 bucks. but it also still has cloth seats. It doesn't include ventilated seats or memory seats. Most of you probably also may upgrade to the SEL trim for around $67,000, and that'll include the leather seats, the heated and cooled seat functionality. It also will include some other upgrades as well that I think buyers are going to appreciate, like the power seats, for example, the 21-inch wheels. The limited trims, however, are going to start at around 71 grand for the performance upgrade, but it also will include features like the manual retractable sunshades, the head-up display, the Bose stereo. This Calligraphy, however, with the upgrades that it includes, like the body-colored accents throughout, the micro suede headliner, of course, with Destination, my particular test car here is around $77,000, or I'm sorry, around $75,000, which is a pretty hefty price tag. A Calligraphy design trim can be around just under $80,000. So again, that keeps it under that $80,000 barrier, but at the same time, we are talking about a price difference here at the top end compared to a Palisade of around $20,000, which I think is a little bit too steep. I think that at the max, this car should have been around 70 grand fully loaded, not 80 grand, but at the same time, this space is pretty much, filled with vehicles that are well over $100,000, like the Rivian R1S, the Mercedes-Benz EQS, the Tesla Model X, for example. So Hyundai still kind of has the market all to itself, although we are anticipating other brands like Toyota and Honda, hopefully, to eventually join the three-row all-electric space. And when that happens, we should see, competition go up. Pricing should, in theory, go down. But in general, the EV9, its sister vehicle, has been doing relatively well for Kia, doing around 22,000 units last year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Hyundai do roughly the same, but only time will tell if buyers end up choosing this vehicle or the Palisade, especially the new Palisade that's coming out, which is offered as a hybrid. I'll be driving the new Palisade in about 2 months, or in about a month out in Arizona, so stay tuned for full coverage on that vehicle. The hybrid, however, will be coming toward the end part of this year. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9 and the Calligraphy trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.